Hey, welcome to another episode of Super FX, the show where we're going to talk about video games and you're going to have to deal with it. I'm Matt.
And I'm Tyler.
And this is episode number 1. We're finally graduating from episode 0, where we didn't do anything at all and just talked about having a podcast, right, buddy?
That's right, Matt. It's been a long time coming, but I have to say that I'm really excited to get started.
Yeah, me too. So before we get into anything, I guess a little bit about us, why we matter. So why you should probably continue to listen to our podcast. So we have an episode 2 after this one. My name's Matt Breslau. I live in New York in the United States. And that's important in just you'll get it. Tyler and I met on an internet forum like 13 years ago in 2008 for a spunky internet band called Lemon Demon, which some of you guys might actually know because Neil Cicierega made Mouth Moods and Mouth Dreams and all of those beautiful mashup albums. Same guy.
I straight up can't believe you said it's 13 years, and
it's been 13 years.
I threw up in my mouth a little bit.
Why? Because you're embarrassed to have known me for that long?
No, it feels like yesterday.
Yeah, it really kind of does. Just talking on AIM all the time.
Is AIM still around?
No, didn't it die in like 2015 or something?
That's probably, I believe it.
Yeah. I still remember when Brawl came out for Wii and you sent me a like 144p video of you and your friends taking the train to go get it.
Yeah, I mean, that was back in the time where I was active on YouTube and I would try to upload, like comedy sketches and stuff, as you do. But
didn't we all?
I mean, that said, had I stayed with that, I probably, would probably be a multimillionaire by now if I had kept that up.
Yeah.
But yeah, those were special times on the internet. The internet is very different nowadays. But I think because of the way the internet was and because of the prevalence of online forums and that kind of thing, I think our friendship really was able to blossom.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially once we both realized that we had a penchant for video games. I think among a lot of friends, that's just like, oh, cool, we can play FIFA on the weekends together. But for you and me, that was, oh, cool, this is going to dominate every conversation we have for the rest of our lives. Well, the reason I mentioned that I live in New York is because...
I live in Canada, and not only do I live in Canada, but I'm not in a very... I'm in northern Alberta. Which is, it's populous. We have famous hockey teams, but we don't have really the kind of the same infrastructure in terms of video games as a place like Toronto or a place like Vancouver, Montreal, something like that. And so as a video game collector, it can be quite challenging at times. It's funny enough, it's actually often more affordable for me to fly to New York to visit Matt and purchase my video games there, pack them into a suitcase and fly back. And I get better value.
Which we have done more than once.
Yeah. I get better value on video games doing it that way. Plus I get a free trip out of it. So how could you complain?
Yeah, he mentions nothing about how nice it is to see me. But
always a pleasure,
that's okay.
man.
That's okay, buddy. I didn't shed a tear when you left after MagFest that one time. No, not at all. I wasn't sad to see you leave. No. What am I, some sort of weirdo?
I was just as crushed going to the airport and missing the flight.
I was just gonna say.
It's a story for another day.
It certainly is. But so as Tyler mentioned, we're game collectors. We collect games, we play games, we know way too much about games and the history of games and the prices of games, and it sucks, but it's awesome, I guess.
That's one way of putting it.
Yeah, but now that you know a little bit more about us, I'm sure you'll learn more as the podcast goes on, but we actually do have stuff we want to talk about, even for episode 1.
We do.
Yeah. Have you been playing anything cool recently?
Yeah, I mean, maybe a little bit embarrassing to say, but I recently have been playing Yoshi's Island for the first time in my life.
That's not embarrassing at all. I'm just happy you're finally playing it.
See, the fact that you added the word "finally" in there makes me embarrassed.
I'm sorry. It's my second favorite game, so I'm happy whenever anybody plays it. I guess I say finally because I'm surprised you hadn't played it already, given that you and I love the same kinds of games.
Yeah, I am too. So here's the thing: I growing up, I played Super Mario World on Super Nintendo. I had it growing up, played a ton of it. It was a pretty fond memory as a kid. But we never owned Yoshi's Island, and honestly, I still don't own Yoshi's Island, a physical copy at least. So I've been playing it on the Switch Online Super Nintendo thing. And I've been having a lot of fun with it. I talked to you recently about this, I think, but I am really big on, especially lately, I'm really big on things that are really linear experiences. I find I've been really compatible with lately. I just wrapped up Yoshi or Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. Which
oh yeah, that's right. I remember we talked about that.
The structural, in terms of like separate stages, levels that are not really connected much and really easy just to do a level, pick it up, play 10 minutes, play 15 minutes, whatever it is, beat a level, put it down, and go do something else.
Yeah. And I mean, the design works really well for that too, since it's a portable game.
Yeah. So. Oh yeah. Playing it on Switch has been amazing. Yeah, that's just really kind of struck a chord with me lately. I recently bought Death Stranding. It was on sale on Amazon, so I picked that up. And it's it's a 40-hour game or whatever. And I've been really wanting to play it. I've been really interested in playing it. But there's something just about the idea of like it's such a narrative driven story-based game that I just can't fathom like sitting down and be like, well, I've decided what I'm doing for the next 40 hours.
40 hours,
like that's something I was able to do, like in high school and university and that kind of thing. But nowadays it's a lot more difficult, I think, to get into that kind of thing. And granted, I will still do it. I will happily. I just played Metal Gear Solid, and that took me probably a good 15 hours or so. So I will still happily do it. But I find personally that there's some sort of mind gap into getting into a game like that. That will often prevent me from doing it. Whereas something as as simple as Yoshi's Island, I'm just able to pick up my Switch, play a level, put it down, walk away, do something else, which has been really helpful. Just in terms of lifestyle lately.
Yeah, I mean, I do get a lot out of those big story-driven experiences also, but there's something about just a very simple pick it up and just mindlessly plow through a game. Jump on things. It's colorful. Like the sound is nice. The goal is like apparent, and it's not super story driven. That just makes me feel really good about the whole experience.
Absolutely,
which is probably why, like, even still to this day, I think platformers are my favorite genre.
Yeah, and to your point, I think I think you and I both have a gift / maybe problem of wanting to 100% a game. And
it's a gift for you and a problem for me, let's be honest.
I do definitely struggle with picking up a game, something like Yoshi in the Yoshi series or in the Kirby series, of wanting to collect everything. And it's so obvious in some of these games, like, hey, you can go left there when you don't need to. Like, it's obvious that to continue on in the level, you proceed right, but you'll notice, hey, I've been playing games for long enough. I know that there's a secret behind that wall or whatever, and being conscious to ignore it and continue onward, just in the interest of, hey, I just want to beat this game. I don't need to complete it. I just want to beat it, and trying to separate myself from the mindset of. Don't go left. Just keep going right. It's fine. You don't need every single thing. You will still beat the game.
Know.
You can still roll credits. So that's been pretty big for me personally. I've been able to get through a lot more games with that kind of mindset, just because being able to separate myself from the need to go left has been something that I'm playing.
That's an interesting way to. That's an interesting way to put it. I think I just found the title for this episode. I love that. The need to go left.
Yeah, distancing myself from the need to go left has been pretty vital in my in just my video game playing in general. But Yoshi's Island. I had played bits and parts of it throughout the years. I had played, maybe the first couple stages kind of thing. And for whatever reason, I don't know what it was, but I just was never really sucked into it. I was never hooked.
You animal!
I know. I know.
Yeah.
I get it. And now I'm like, I don't know, 75% of the way through, and I get it.
That's
now.
awesome.
I honestly,
Yeah.
I think it's a masterclass in art direction. I think maybe the issue was that the art direction never really struck a chord with me. I think it's very special.
Really?
I think it looks good. I don't, there's nothing against it. I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
But like you really can't absorb all of it until maybe you've sat down and actually played through it.
I think it's partially
Was that kind of the thing?
I think so, but also partially, I think part of it is it just doesn't resonate with me, like the hand-drawn art style. I like it. I think it's good. It's just not what I would, if I were to go and make a game, that's not how I would, do the art direction. Like that's not the style of game that I would make. But I think now that maybe I'm a little bit older, I just have a much more of an appreciation for it. I think the level design is really special. There's, like I said, there's a lot of clever ways that they hide collectibles and that kind of thing that I'm happily ignoring at the moment.
Right.
But just going back on it, considering that the game is coming up on 30 years old, it's
Oh, don't say that. Oh God, I remember unwrapping the game brand new when I was really young.
Yeah. I found it like, the right level of challenge. I haven't found it like extremely difficult that I want to, throw my Switch across the room, but I have found that there are some stages that I die a couple times, and it's the right amount of balance for challenge and difficulty. I've been having a really, really fun time with it. My one, I guess, big gripe, and I think this is probably everybody's big gripe. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. But there's something, my partner, Lauren, she will often, I'll be playing Yoshi's Island and she'll hear Baby Mario cry.
Baby Mario. I knew it.
And she'll be like, what's going on? And it's gotten to the point now where she knows that I'm doing poorly, if I'm doing poorly, because she'll hear the baby crying constantly.
Oh yeah, it's like the big "I'm bad at this game" alarm.
Yeah, oh definitely. That's exactly what it is. So I don't know what I feel like maybe the sound design as a whole in this game is just a little strange. There are some little things here and there. I think the music is really good. It's catchy.
I think it's fantastic.
And here's the thing: I played a lot of Tetris Attack as a kid, and there's a lot of themes that were born in Yoshi's Island. I think that
they were borrowed. That you maybe never knew.
Totally, and I never knew, and so I hear these like familiar tunes. I'm like, oh crap! Like no way, I'm reminded of this. So I still have some sort of like childlike wonder for it. So, but I'm happy that I'm able to play the game and appreciate it without kind of the nostalgia glasses. So overall having a lot of fun with Yoshi's Island.
That's awesome. It's interesting you mentioned Baby Mario at all, because I feel like that sort of thing has been like talked about to death, but I think it's still important to like understand the significance of Baby Mario because like one of the things I love most about Yoshi's Island is that it teaches by design, the same way that, games like Mega Man and stuff like that teach by design. I'm sure a lot of people listening might be familiar with sequelitis.
Yeah.
I love games that teach by design.
Mega Man.
Shut up! I don't need you.
Yeah.
I think it's very important for a game to teach by design so that it doesn't shove stuff down your throat. And I'm also glad that you're playing Yoshi's Island because it ties into the fact that my partner Jackie and I are currently playing through Yoshi's Island for her first time.
Oh wow.
Yeah, which is because I remember when you were telling me like I want to play a game but I just want to plow through one. What should I do? And I mentioned Yoshi's Island specifically because it was fresh on the mind since Jackie and I had started playing it. So you're welcome.
Thank you.
But the importance on Baby Mario cannot be understated because even though he is super annoying when he's off Yoshi's back and he's caterwauling, that makes you want to get him back. And that's a beautiful design aspect. Like, the fact that he is crying and whining and annoying your partner and annoying your parents, who what have you. Not your parents, maybe you listening. I don't know if you still live with mom and dad. Tell them about this podcast, guys. We all ages, please. But the second you get hit, there's that moment of dread that sets in. Oh no, the baby!
Yeah. Well,
And
I don't. Part of it is like, oh yeah, I want to survive. I want to, not die. I would like to continue playing the game. But there's also the part of it is like, fuck, I just don't want this kid to make the noise.
It absolutely 100% prioritizes that is the first thing you should be thinking about.
Yeah.
The second you get hit, I gotta get the baby. I have to.
Yeah. Yeah. There's, motherhood. The word motherhood comes to mind.
Yes.
There's some really interesting, I think, dynamics that they're doing. Specifically to your point because of Baby Mario.
Yeah, funny story actually, and it is related. My partner and I live in an apartment that's set up for two families. We have one side of the building, and the other family has the other side, and we're separated by a wall. And
oh no, do they have a baby?
So we're not 100% sure if they just had a new baby or if they're watching it for somebody, because it's been around for a while recently, and it's not annoying, it's not even very loud, but often we can hear it crying softly through the wall. And when Jackie and I are playing Yoshi's Island and Baby Mario starts crying, we get kind of a little chuckle out of it, because it's like, your baby's gonna cry, my baby's gonna cry.
It sounds like you're gonna have to go and introduce this kid to some video games.
Yeah, or to a green dinosaur. It's, motherhood. It's interesting you bring up motherhood, because that's how I feel, having to nurse my way through what I'm playing recently.
Oh yeah, what have you been playing?
So Tyler, you already know this, but I guess for the uninitiated, hi, my name's Matt, and I complete games 100% because I have a sickness. I don't do it all the time.
That's the word I would
use. Right? Yeah, I don't do it all the time. Usually, if it's the first time I'm playing a game, I'll just breeze through it and get the general gist of what the game is like, so that I can come back and play it like a second time with 100% completion.
Mm-hmm.
And to add to that, Pokemon's fun. Pokemon's cool, but 100%ing Pokemon takes a lot out of a man. Despite that, Tyler, you well know, since it was your idea, about 2 years ago. Actually, oh my God, 3 years ago at this point.
Don't say that. Don't say it.
I'm sorry. I fully completed the Pokedex in red, blue, and yellow. And then a couple of months later, I did the same thing in gold, silver, and crystal. Now that it's been a couple years and I have let the dread set in long enough, I finally started doing it for Generation 3. Which, if I don't want to cheat or use any outside sources, requires playing Ruby and Sapphire and Emerald and Fire Red and Leaf Green and Colosseum and XD Gale of Darkness on GameCube.
Okay, for context here, Matt mentioned that this was my idea, and I admit that it was. 3 years ago, I think...
Capital W was.
Yeah, I was in a different mindset altogether. And you think, hey, wouldn't it be fun?
A more fun mindset, maybe.
Wouldn't it be fun to collect them all? Catch them all?
Yeah.
I think is the catchphrase, TM.
Yeah, no, wouldn't it be fun to house them all?
And I did do it on I think it was Red, and after I spent 30 hours probably more doing that, and I finished it and I said, wow, that was fun. I never want to do that again.
Well, I did do it again, Tyler, and I did it another time after that too. The time right now. For more context, it was originally supposed to be a project in tandem with one another. I remember the first session I played Pokemon Red in the Super Game Boy, and I believe you were playing Blue version in the Transfer Pack in Pokemon Stadium 2?
No, I was playing, it was either Blue or Red, but I was playing on the 3DS Virtual Console.
That's right.
And the reason for that was because then you can the way they designed it was that with the intent you can transfer everything up into Pokemon Bank.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of my intent, is like, eventually down the road, like you'll get into like Gen 6, 7, whatever, and you're playing on DS and 3DS, and so I figured it's going to be easier to have everything on that console. I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but I don't think that there's a way you can transfer up all the way from the Game Boy cartridges.
No, there's not. 1 and 2 are isolated on their own, and then you can transfer it all the way up from 3 to 8.
Yeah, so that's
which
what I wanted.
Which I think is amazing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's insane. But yeah, with the 3DS Virtual Console, I that's the reason I wanted to keep that. Or I started
Yeah,
on there.
unfortunately, I am okay with the challenge, despite the fact that I know it's going to be kind of grueling.
Yeah.
I love Pokemon, so it's going to be fun at the same time. But yeah, Tyler eventually, I'm calling you out. He eventually totally burned out and never finished. And
Oh,
I just kept
after like
on.
1-2 games, like, oh yeah, that was it for me. I mean, maybe someday I'll come back to it, but there's just so many other games that I want to play. That spending
That's
so much
fine.
time on these games because I played all the Pokemon games, but I haven't
Yeah,
caught them all. So I'd much rather spend my time the what little free time that I might have to play games these days. I'd much rather spend that time playing games that I haven't played before.
yeah.
But I definitely understand the desire to catch them all.
It was just so much fun. Like, I don't know how to describe it, because collecting 100% in any game is, like, it already gives me a rush. But I guess going back and finally becoming the capital P Pokemon, capital M master that we all wanted to be for the first time. And you can take this either as a compliment or as a jab, but it's okay that you didn't end up finishing along with me, because I didn't need you. Because I have all 3 copies of the Gen 1 games, Red, Blue, and Yellow.
Right.
So I just played through all 3 of them like a madman. But it was really fun, and I enjoyed the challenge to go through 3 times and swap anything I didn't have with things that I needed, etc.
How mindless?
And then I did it again with Gold, Silver, Crystal.
How mindless does that become?
How mindless?
In terms of, is this something that you're doing actively, or is this something that you're doing like, you play through Gold and then it comes time to go through Silver, and are you just kind of like watching TV in the background kind of thing?
So it's a little bit of one and a little bit of the other. When you first start, because I've done this more than once now, so I can use present tense. When you first start, it's like, oh yeah, a new Pokemon adventure. I'm gonna catch them all. I'm gonna use like all the resources at my disposal. We have Cerebi, we have like Bulbapedia. I can make sure I know the catch rates. This is gonna be awesome. It's gonna be like a full-time job, but at the same time, it's going to be hella fun because it's Pokemon. Right?
I mean, to your point, like, this would have been extremely challenging back in the day. Like, playing this when they came out and trying to catch them all.
Oh yeah, with none of the extra resources.
Yeah, like we know catch rates now. We didn't at the time, so it definitely it made it a little easier.
It's not even the catch rates that's the thing. It's like there are some Pokemon that, especially in the Gen 2 games, only appear in like a side area in one route that's only accessible through a cave that you need a certain move to get, and it's not an HM that you get during the game, so you have to find where you get the optional HM, etc.
Yeah.
But the thing I used most of the resources for was for encounter rates, because you'll go through a route and you're like, okay, I encountered 7 different Pokemon on this route. That's all of them, right? No. There's an 8th Pokemon with a 1% encounter rate, and you can only encounter it in the morning. So you have to know that sort of thing. Is it cheating? I don't know. Because I'm not using a walkthrough to get through the game. I'm just trying to get a little help figuring out where all the collectibles are, in quotes, I guess. This being the Pokemon.
Yeah.
But to continue to answer your original question, once I got into like midway through Gold, I started to feel the weight of what I was doing a second time. Of course, I felt that same way when I was going through Red, which is what I started Gen 1 with. But by the time I got into Silver or into Blue, it was much more automatic. I already knew what I had to do and what I was doing. I knew how to navigate all the resource material. I knew what to expect, basically. But it still wasn't automatic because there are differences between the games in terms of exclusive Pokemon and which Pokemon show up in which routes. Mm-hmm. So you still do have to be scouring the resources and making 100% sure you don't miss anything. But of course, every 100% Pokemon run that doesn't use any sort of outside sources will become mindless because of the grinding. There are just some Pokemon that, if you don't want to use them on your team, or maybe they show up way too late in the game for you to even consider using them on your team. Mm-hmm. I'm going to use Tyranitar as the example. Mm-hmm. you get Larvitar pretty damn late in Gen 2. Like, way later than you've already decided who your 6 members are. Like, you already have them, you're already leveling them, it's over. You're probably not going to use Tyranitar. Or you're not going to use Larvitar. So you're like, all right, well, I'll catch the Larvitar, because I don't think you can catch a Pupitar in the wild, and you definitely can't catch Tyranitar. So you catch the Larvitar, and he sits in your PC until the end of the game when you have to start making sure you fill out your Pokedex, so you're doing all your trades and doing all of your evolutions. And that's when you realize that you have to get Larvitar to level 55 before he becomes a Tyranitar.
And what level did you catch
it at? Of course, somewhere in the middle. I think 20?
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so a lot of the mindlessness of the 100% Pokemon runs straight up comes from level grinding to make sure you can complete the Pokedex.
Right.
And luckily, a lot of Pokemon in both Gen 1 and Gen 2, so I'm hoping this is also going to be the case for Gen 3, you can catch both their base forms and their evolved forms in the wild. Not usually in the same place, but you can do it. There are very few Pokemon whose evolved forms you actually have to grind to get them to evolve to. So it's not the worst thing in the world just to spend an hour and a half with like a podcast on in the background. Maybe like this one. And,
so you think
just grind it out?
Do you think at this point you're going to stick with it?
Oh, absolutely. I've never backed down from any challenge I've ever set for myself except twice in my entire game. Like, once I became a collector and I started giving myself like these regimented, like, I want 100% this, I want to play that. I never backed down from any of those challenges except twice, and both of them were more than like 6 years ago. I don't foresee myself backing down.
You sadistic motherfucker.
I know. You mean masochistic? I'm a linguistics and language instructor in my regular daily life.
You masochistic motherfucker.
You. The best concert. It's going to be a lot of fun. Right now I'm on Coliseum because it's the only way to get a Ho-Oh. And then I'll have to play through Pokemon XD because that's the only way to get a Lugia in all of the Gen 3 games.
Really?
Yeah, that's the only reason.
I feel like Lugia was like such a part of the marketing at that point. Like, isn't it on the cover?
Not of Gen 3.
Oh, right. It's Silver, right?
Yeah, Silver.
It's on the cover of? Yes. Okay. Wow.
Yeah,
I just remember that being such a like popular, common, in the schoolyard, people talk about Lugia. It's just so surprising to me that come Gen 3, like, screw you. You want that popular Pokemon? Remember that one? Nah, you gotta get this other game.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, like, to catch them all, you don't have to rely on just yourself. If you have other friends who play Pokemon, then you guys can work together. But it's not 2003 anymore, and I don't have a whole slew of Pokemon playing friends, especially not ones who want to go back and play all through Gen 3 right now, who will all band together with me to trade back and forth.
Yeah.
And even if we did all do that, one of us still has to play through Coliseum and XD to get Ho-Oh and Lugia. It only has to be one of us if there's a bunch of us playing, but it still has to happen. So it kind of sucks.
I think over the next series of episodes, we'll have to check in. Maybe we'll make this a regular occurrence to check in and see how your damn Pokemon collecting is going.
Oh, yeah. Guys, expect that for the next year of podcast episodes. Tyler will have a rotating roster of games he's played, which I comment on, probably having already played them. But we talk more about why Snorlax blows, or why I can't beat the Mount Battle Challenge, or stuff like that.
I'm excited for you, and I wish you the best of luck. Should we go to the news?
Yeah, you mentioned motherhood before, which is how I transitioned into this. But we can use motherhood to transition a second time into
the gamer news.
The gamer news with a Z,
or
it legally doesn't count. No, it legally doesn't count if the gamer news doesn't have a Z.
Speaking of my mother, Terry Crews. Everybody knows
with
Terry
a Z,
Crews.
Or it legally doesn't count.
Terry Crews.
Crews.
Terry Crews of Old Spice fame, and he's in some other stuff, but Old Spice, I think, is the thing that brought upon his rise to stardom.
Yeah, everybody hates Chris.
Terry Crews tweeted this week with a request to localize Mother 3.
You would call that a request? It's in all caps. That's a demand.
And I think this is notable for a couple reasons. One, Mother 3 has been in the news lately.
It's just recently celebrated its 15th anniversary.
It has. And I know Reggie sent a tweet about it.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, Reggie put out a tweet. You know what? I'm going to go find it. Reggie put out a tweet basically straight up dunking on people who have asked him over the years about the localization of Mother 3.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's so good. But, this pretty much has sparked a ton of conversation between Tyler and me, because when Reggie first tweeted about this, he immediately came to me with the information. But Reggie posted on Twitter. It was in response to a Twitch post on Twitter that says, "What's the oldest game in your library that remains unplayed?" And Reggie responds, "A Mother 3 English version. Every time I think it's time to play it, I get trolled and decide to put it off. Maybe I'll fire it up this weekend."
And then there's a GIF.
There's a GIF of him nodding with the face.
So Terry Crews, I guess, I don't know if this is in response. It's not directly a tweet response to it, but 2 weeks later, Terry Crews tweets localizing Mother 3. I didn't know Terry Crews was a Mother fan. But I do wonder if his poll will give any has any influence on Nintendo of America and what's next, because I mean, come on,
this is it. This is the straw that breaks Nintendo's camel's back.
It's Terry Crews.
We at the Nintendo have finally decided to release Mother 3 in the West because of Terry Crews.
And they can use him for the marketing. Do you remember the World of Warcraft ads with Mr. T?
Oh, of course I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So Mother 3 ads with Terry Crews.
With Terry Crews.
Yeah, I think it's soon.
Nintendo, are you listening?
Sony was in the news again last week. They reversed the decision to shut down the PlayStation networks on PS3,
which really surprised me, because
and PS
obviously I think it's a good decision to make, that they were like, no, a lot of people still use these services. Let's kind of keep them around.
Yeah,
but it was surprising to me. Go ahead.
I was going to say, as in terms of video game preservation, and we could talk at length about this kind of thing, but we have a big piece of being a collector for me is I want to have these physical cartridges and these physical discs, because I want to one day be able to take these off my shelf and put them in a console to play for my kids, with my kids, and for them to have that same experience that I had, and with a lot of digital services, there's really no way. There are several games at this point, if we think about the Wii Shop, that you literally cannot get anymore. There's no way. And so to some extent, I'm so excited about the rise of limited run games and that realm of things. Bringing back the Scott Pilgrim game that was literally, you couldn't get it, right?
It was basically gone. It didn't exist anymore, only in our memories.
And so I'm hoping that Sony's decision to reverse this move is part of that, process of, they realize, hey, there's a lot of really beloved games on these services that would be gone if we were to shut this down. I really hope that's part of the decision to reverse this
to keep it around.
Change.
Yeah. Even regardless of the decision, I was mainly surprised because it is not very often in the video game industry that a company will make an announcement and then go back on it.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen very often.
It's rare. Yeah. Usually, there's going to be fan backlash about anything. And usually it's not impactful.
Usually if there's any response to backlash at all, it's that they make a small change to what they have already announced, but it still goes through.
Well, I do think
this was a complete 180.
I think they said that they're going to the plan for the PSP store is still continuing. That one's still shutting down, I believe. But the PS3 and the Vita stores, I believe, are staying online. If I'm not if I'm not mistaken.
I wonder why they're keeping the Vita store open but not the PSP store. It's the more user installed console.
I mean, the Vita...
Like, it has a much larger install base.
It's true, but the Vita, I feel like, was still in stores relatively recently, right? Within the past few years, you used to be able to walk into, a GameStop and buy a Vita new. So, if in the event I was a Vita owner who bought one off in a brick and mortar a year or two ago, I can imagine that there might be some dismay at, having the primary way of acquiring games for that to be shut down within a year or two of my purchase. Like, I could see the issue there.
Yeah.
The number of people that this has impacted, probably small in terms of Vita install base, but I could see why, there are some people who could. It's definitely a bad look.
Yeah, it's just kind of no matter which way you spin it, it just kind of looks weird because if you are shutting down, like you said, the reason that you already described, if you shut down Vita but keep PSP, then you alienate the Vita users who maybe have only gotten it recently. Mm-hmm. But if you shut down if you shut down PSP and keep Vita around, PSP has the much larger install base, so you alienate more people, even if they may not play as frequently. It's true,
but I guess the same could be said about the Wii Shop, right?
Closing down the Wii Shop just ruined every Wednesday for me moving forward.
Oh, but is it ruined? Every Wednesday is still Wii Shop Wednesday in my heart.
That's true. It's still Wii Shop Wednesday no matter what. Everybody loves to go on the Wii Shopping channel every Wednesday.
They do.
Yeah. Guys, if you're listening to this on YouTube, I'll place a link to the video we're talking about in the description.
We'll keep it in the show notes.
It's so 2007. I love it.
The new Pokemon Snap came out on Friday. We're recording on Sunday, so it's been a couple of days. I have not received my copy yet. Walmart Canada, funnily enough, I pre-ordered the game at Walmart Canada, which I normally don't do. I normally don't really pre-order in general, but I did because the pre-order bonus this time is 25 free photo prints at the Walmart Photo Center. And I just received and I just received my email code to redeem my 25 free photo prints at the Walmart Photo Center. It's the photo prints. It doesn't specify if they are supposed to be used with the game. Like, are you supposed to take a photo in game and then?
So you could just like, hey, I bought Pokemon, the new Pokemon Snap, and I want to print these. And it's like, these are your lewds. You're supposed to use these for Pokemon. It doesn't say that anywhere.
I wonder if that, the idea of the promotion was like, the old Blockbuster kiosk where you bring your cartridge and you were able to print off the...
Well, I mean, 100%. I think anybody could tell that that's exactly what they were going for.
But I think, I could just like upload my, the photos of my dinner from last night and
yes, get
those printed to hang on my wall because wouldn't that be lovely?
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you play it yet?
I haven't played it yet because I'm still working on Pokemon Coliseum, and if I get distracted, it's only going to take another year. But I did at least go pick it up because I like to be part of like the launch celebrations, I guess. They're not really celebrations so much as just like, I like to be able to say, kids, your father picked this up when it came out. And then they'll say, all right, Dad, go away, I'm busy.
I'm playing Roblox.
I'm playing Roblox. I go to... I typically go to Target to pick up my new games because I'm not the biggest fan of GameStop. We'll talk about that in another episode. I went to Target to pick up this copy, and Target does pre-orders occasionally, but I didn't pre-order it because I knew there would just be enough copies. There almost always is. I've never had an issue going to Target. Mm-hmm. I got it, and the dude rang it up, and I didn't know that there was like an additional piece of merchandise that came with it. But the dude also handed me a magnetic photo frame. It's like this weird, like, silicone frame that's designed to look like it's, like, old rustic wood. What? Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, it's really cool. And it has a fully magnetic back, so you can put it on a fridge, or I put it on my my game shelves because they're made of metal, and I had no idea that it came with a copy of the game. So much so that when I grabbed the game, I went to turn around and walk away, and the dude like put it on the counter, and he was like, "Did you want this? It's free." And I'm just like, yeah. And so I took it, and I'm like, what is this?
So it looks like it was a pre-order bonus that they probably just had extra of. They got the box, and they had 15 pre-orders, and they got a box of 25. So you probably just got one.
Hell yeah! I'm happy with that. I'm not gonna open it, but it's still stuck to my shelves because there's a magnet inside of it, so it sticks through the packaging.
Not gonna print a photo of your big old wiener and stick it in there and stick it on your fridge?
No, unfortunately, I didn't get 25 free prints, so I can't put my wiener on my game. Well, I mean, I can put my wiener on my game shelves if I want to, but I can't do it in that way.
It almost seems like these pre-order bonuses should have been in a package deal. You get 25 free photo prints, and then you get the photo print to go with it.
Ooh, it's called a package deal because I'm going to be printing my wiener.
Sony showed off some gameplay for Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart in their State of Play event from this past week. Game looks good. Game looks really good.
It looks really good.
Matt knows I'm a huge fan of the Ratchet and Clank series, but especially the PS4 Ratchet and Clank, the kind of reboot.
Well, we can circle back around to the beginning of this conversation in total when you mentioned Yoshi's Island, because as much as I love Yoshi's Island and this is your first time playing it, I have never played a Ratchet and Clank game, and you love Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, my favorite game of all time is Banjo-Kazooie, and there's something about the Ratchet
which is
and Clank
like
games.
Absolutely the best Ratchet and Clank that ever came out.
Absolutely. There's something about the Ratchet and Clank games that give me the same vibe. I mean, they're both 3D platformers, obviously. They're both a little collectathon-y. They got some of that in there. I don't know what it is. There's something about I don't know if it's the control style or the art, something like that. I don't know what it is, but there's some certain kind of similarity between the two that really kind of drive home that experience for me. Especially the PS4 Ratchet and Clank. If you haven't played the PS4 Ratchet and Clank, what are you doing? Do yourself a favor. I think it was free on the PlayStation Network for a while. It might still be free, and if not, I'm sure you can pick up a cheap copy. It's really, really special. I know it just seems like a reboot of a 2000s 3D platformer, but I thought it's a really solid game, and I'm stoked for Rift Apart. Rift Apart, the gameplay that Sony showed this week, it looks incredible. The lighting, the graphics, I'm blown away. Honestly, this is what I bought a PS5 for, so I'm super excited to play that. They also showed off a couple indie games that are coming to the PS5, and I think the PS4 as well. One of them being Among Us. You ever heard about this, Among Us?
Is that like an RPG?
I'm not. It looked a little like the art design looked a little weak. I wasn't super super sold on the way it looked, but they had some.
You know what?
Clank.
I bet if you give Among Us like 2 years or so, it'll really take off.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. They had some like Ratchet and Clank character costumes, which looked kind of cool. So good for anyone who's still playing Among Us. They also showed off the sequel to Subnautica. It's I believe Subnautica Sub-Zero or Below Zero, something like that. Look cool. Boogaloo. Yeah, I played a little bit of the first Subnautica, and it's very interesting. Kind of like a deep sea diver, kind of spooky vibe going on. The new one.
Yeah, I've
looks
seen
like
some footage from it. I've never played it.
Takes place in a kind of an Arctic environment. It looks interesting. Probably not gonna play it ever, but cool to see that's coming to PlayStation.
As someone who hasn't played Ratchet and Clank but has heard you gush about it, I'm really excited to pick up Rift Apart because, don't get me wrong, I do have some Ratchet and Clank games because being a collector, you always pick stuff up and you just never get around to it. Like, I just have too much. And I will get around to playing those, but when I pick up the new one for PS5, I really want to play it right away, given that I'm not still working on Pokemon. Hopefully by that time I'll be done. But even if I'm not done, that's going to be the next game I play right afterwards. I really want to get into it, and it looks amazing. And not just you, but other friends that I have because believe it or not, I have other friends, have talked to me about Ratchet and Clank, and they've also expressed how excited they are for this new game. So it kind of feels like a rite of passage for me to start my Ratchet and Clank journey with Rift Apart.
Yeah, oh sure. And I mean, not even from like a nostalgia glasses point of view. Like I played the original Ratchet and Clank games growing up, but I never, really, really like fell in love with them until I played the PS4 one. So I don't think Rift Apart's going to be a bad starting point at all. There's no nostalgia glasses for me. That the PS4 one is incredible, and this just looks like more of the same. So yeah, I'm stoked.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Any in terms of your collection, any games you picked up this weekend? Any stories you got?
Yes, actually, I have a couple. It's starting to finally get warmer here, which I know is unheard of for you up in Canada. But
it's warm-ish here. There's no more snow right now on the ground this very moment.
Yeah, it's the beginning of May, which means outdoor collecting starts today. And yesterday,
is that a Jonathan Colton reference?
It is. I'm really glad that you caught it. Actually, I expected you to, so I'm even more glad. My buddies and I, who Tyler already knows, but because they'll probably end up being on this podcast at some point, my buddies Joe and Dustin and Sean and Josh all came yard sailing with me yesterday, and of course my partner Jackie and Dustin's partner Stephanie were there as well. We just hopped in Sean's car and just drove around the area where his mom lives, because yesterday they had like community yard sale day. And
nice.
Yeah, it was really cool. And especially since it's getting warmer out, I felt an excuse to finally start going, because even though yard sales have started or had started like a couple of weeks ago back here on the island, I live on Long Island, it was still too cold for a lot of people to do it. So if I wanted to go yard sailing and I wanted to find any sales at all, they were really, really spaced far apart from each other. Now that it's warm enough out, I can hit 6 or 7 sales within a half hour, which is really good.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I'm lucky to even have that many on a Saturday, like that are near me to be able to go to. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So we went out yesterday. Because of the location where Sean's mom lives, a lot of the people living around there they're older folks, so they either didn't have video games growing up, or maybe they did for their grandkids or their children, but the kids took them when they left.
Right.
So I didn't find a whole lot of video games around that area, but I did find in the surrounding neighborhood an Xbox One, the original base model, the black one.
Wow.
No controllers, no cord or anything. I paid $5.
Oh my god.
Yeah, $5.
Dear Lord.
Yeah, there's a little. You kind of already know the story, but I'll elaborate on it both for you and also for the listeners. So this guy didn't really have anything at his yard sale. He was mostly selling tools and shoes, and his wife was trying very hard to make sure their daughter kept her jacket on, because it was just windy enough out that it was warm, but still kind of... Yeah, basically, that myth. So my number one rule at all yard sales is, regardless of what you see, always ask. I have gotten so many good deals at yard sales and found so many treasures because I dared to ask the host if they have any video games. Because at that point, you're not asking about, hey, do you have something out here that I don't see? You're asking, hey, is there anything that you own that you didn't bring out?
Yeah.
And so I asked this guy if he had any video games, and he disappears into the garage, and he comes back only like a couple seconds later, and he has the Xbox One in his hands, and he's like, we bought it a couple of years ago. I think I played it for only like 6 months before we had, the kid, and, my priorities changed, and it just like ended up in a box in the garage, and it's all dusty. I'm like, do you know if it works? And he's like, I used it for 6 months, and it worked all the way up until when I turned it off for the last time and boxed it up.
Yeah.
But he didn't have the cords for it or the controller, according to him, because I don't want to like pry into these people's lives, but at the same time, I'm like, do you have the cord or the controller? He's like, no. And I'm like, what happened to them? Instead of being just like, why? How do you separate them if you stop playing? Like it just feels like second nature to me. Like if I'm gonna put a console away in storage, I'm gonna put the cords and the controllers with it. But according to him, he distinctly remembers putting something else in another box, but he wasn't sure if it's the cords or the controllers. So they probably got separated, even if they weren't the cords or the controllers.
Regardless, $5. I mean, you can spend an extra, $20-$30, get you finish the set, and
it gets better.
Oh.
So I asked him how much he was thinking on it, and first of all, he hits me with $10, which is already an amazing price. But I'm me, so I said, "That's a really good price, actually, but I'm gonna have to find the cables for it, and I'm gonna have to buy a controller." And I don't know if he's aware of the prices. Maybe he is, maybe he's not. But I know that a used Xbox One controller is like $45 ish, unless it's all beat up. And then an HDMI cable I can come across this pretty easily. But finding the correct proprietary power brick for the original Xbox One,
yeah, that's true. It did have a weird one.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to find that specific one, and then I have to pay for it. So I'm going to end up spending maybe $80 to $90 anyway, even after spending the $10 on his Xbox One.
Okay.
So I asked him if he would do $5, and he just said yeah. He didn't even argue with me, and I cannot believe that this man years ago at retail bought this console for $300 and sold it to me for $5.
He got his $300 value out of it.
Yeah, I guess so. My friend Josh. After I paid him the $5, I just hear him mutter in the back, "Criminal."
It is really, but
yeah,
I applaud
honestly,
you.
like, I felt good and bad at the same time, and Dustin's girlfriend Steph was giving me a little shit for it too. She's like, "That was so mean. You asked him for $5, he gave you a good deal with $10," and I'm like, "Yeah, but like." Then now I can use $5 for something else, and also, if he didn't want to sell it for $5,
he could have said no.
Yeah, he absolutely could have said no. That's happened
enough.
to me a million times.
I know you had some other stuff, but we're running short on time, so I'll tell you what I am.
Yeah, honestly, that was the thing that was the most worth it. Other than that, it was just Wii commons and shit. So
yeah, fair enough. I didn't get anything new this week. However, months ago, I'm talking like this was probably, I don't know, November. October, I placed a pre-order at EB Games in Canada. We don't have GameStop. We have EB Games. EB Games is GameStop. They're the same company, same ownership. Just the EB Games
just not
Canada.
Called GameStop.
GameStop bought it, and now it's GameStop. Anyway, so I placed an order online at EB Games for Crypt of the Necrodancer, the collector's edition, the physical edition. And I haven't played Crypt of the Necrodancer because I wanted to buy it physically, so I never did buy it digitally. So finally, there's a collector's edition on Switch that's coming out, and it was supposed to come out like February, like a long time ago. And I kind of forgot about it, and then on Thursday, I get a call from EB Games, and the dude's like, "Hey, your pre-order for Crypt of the Necrodancer is in." And I'm like, "Oh shit, right, I forgot about that." But okay, he was like, "Yeah, it comes out tomorrow. Like, we'll have it ready for you tomorrow. But with COVID protocol and with Pokemon Snap coming out, like that's going to be a big game." So he was like, he straight up said, "I don't recommend you come in tomorrow, but you can if you want."
He actually said that?
Yeah, straight up. And I was like, yeah, that's fair. Like, I appreciate you telling me that. He was like, so we'll hold it for the next week. So, just swing by whenever. But yeah, don't come tomorrow. And I was like, okay,
wow.
Sounds good. So yeah, I've got that to go pick up someday this week.
Wow. That's this is a quick aside. I don't know if I told you this story, but I'll tell you really fast. It doesn't relate to video games, but it relates to like retail, like the employee acting weird. I had to pick something up at Target the other day with Jackie. It was just something for around the apartment, and the dude rings us up, and then you know how like they'll usually ask if you want a bag.
Uh-huh.
The dude literally, he rings us up. He's already kind of like huffy the whole time. Like, we're trying to be nice to him. We're not being mean at all. It's apparent he's kind of having a bad day. Mm-hmm. But even still, what he said was strange. He hands us the thing and he's like, so you don't really need a bag, but do you want one anyway? And I'm like no,
he went out of his way. Like, it takes more effort to say that, right? He could have just said, you want a bag, right? He went out of his way. This guy went out of his way to tell you that you don't need one.
That I don't need one. I mean, he was right. I didn't really. It was a small item. But like, who says that? Just ask if I want one, and I'll say no.
Amazing.
Judging my bag use. What if I do want a bag?
Who are you to say? Yeah. What if you had said yes? What if you had said like, yeah, I want one, and I'm offended that you'd think.
I honestly, I shudder to think what he would have like. You don't really need a bag, but do you want one anyway? Yeah, I do. Like huffing about. It was apparent he was having a bad day, but even still, like, what is that sentence?
Amazing.
But yeah.
And that'll do it for this show. To learn more about SuperFX, you can visit our website, superfxpodcast.com. You can also follow us on social media, including Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook at SuperFXPodcast. We'd love it if you'd reach out with any comments or concerns, questions on social media or by sending us an email. hi@superfxpodcast.com. That's hi@superfxpodcast.com. If you like what we're doing and you'd like to support us, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/superfxpodcast. If you're listening on YouTube, consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, help us out by rating and reviewing our show. Special thanks to Kenny Martin for our theme song. You can find him at kenma, that's kenma.bandcamp.com. And special thanks to you. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Later.